Alright, so I'm just gonna get right into it. I came home from work today and I scooped into Discord and saw a little conversation in the Big Dude Discord in the Dude vs Dungeons section about mob spawns in prefabs. Currently there is not any creative tools that allow you to do this easily, or at least to do it easily the way that the developers do it in their prefabs, but I found a way to do so. It's a little complicated, it might be a little bit wonky to use, and it's probably not gonna be the easiest thing to use, especially if you have multiple spawners. But I'm gonna show it to you anyways, or at least what I found out. So let's get to it. I prepared a little platform here. We're gonna use this 3x3 cobble platform as our prefab. The first thing that you want to get is the entity grabber. You're gonna press E to spawn in an entity, and under the model section you're gonna type NPC, and here you will have a path maker and a path marker and a spawner marker. What we want to use is the spawner marker. I already know how the path marker works, but I don't know how to properly implement it yet. So we're not gonna talk about that. We're just gonna talk about the spawner today. Then you get this little guy. And usually you can't even see these. And that is basically defined in the config, if you can see them or not. That we're gonna add it later. But if you want to take a look at some prefabs in the base game, and you want to see the enemy or entity markers placed there, you want to activate this. As you can see, if I turn this off, I can still see this guy, but I can't see anything up here. But if I turn it back on, would you look at that? A spawner that spawns a skeleton scout. Patrol, to be exact. Now, let me just save this real quickly, show you how to save a prefab, and then we're gonna hop into the editor. So basically what you want to do, you just select the thing with the select tool. You type, where is it? I had it. Prefab save. I'm just gonna call this test_1. You can name this whatever you want. And the most important thing is that you include entities. That needs to be checked. Alright, saved. Now, I'm just gonna... where is it? Pedit exit to exit the prefab editor. And for now, we can technically spawn in with a prefab list under servers, the test1 prefab. But it doesn't have a name, it doesn't have any function, and it doesn't really do anything. So we're just gonna change that now. So, I have these two folders now open. These two folders are basically where... this is a folder that I copied off of the base game assets. You can find multiple different videos on YouTube how to copy base game assets. Basically what you want to do is when you have the assets, you want to go to server, prefabs, monuments, encounter, zone 1, tier 1, outposts, and here the first encounter zone 1, tier 1 underscore 001 prefab JSON file is basically the prefab that you load into when you load the testing stage for the prefab editor. The thing that we looked at just now that had the skeleton scout spawner. That's this prefab. I already have that opened in the back. And in your Hytale directory, under your user data, saves, whatever world you're on, prefabs, you will find the prefabs that you've saved. Now we want this file. And I'm just gonna do it like this. And basically, when you start off inside these, you're just gonna start on top of here. This is gonna tell you all the different versions, with which version it has, which blocks, with all their places that they're placed in. But we don't care about any of this. This is all stuff that you do in game when you place blocks. The thing that we are interested in is the thing that we can see all the way down here under entities. You can find all the components that you could possibly want. Because this is basically the skeleton spawner that we just saw. So, and now we do the same thing with our prefab that we've made. And basically what you want to do is you want to copy over some of the components that are here. But the only thing that you don't want to overwrite is the position. Obviously, because then your thing is going to be placed completely differently. Another tactic that you could technically use, you could find the exact axis, the exact 0 axis on your build, and put all of your spawners onto that, and then go back into the game and drag them to wherever you want them to be, and then save the file again. Which is probably a lot easier than what I'm going to do, but still, that might help you in getting multiple spawners going. Anyways, the first thing that we want to do is entities, components, prop, model, ID, NPC, spawner, marker. This is the thing that we spawned in as a separate entity, but we don't really want that. What we want to do is we want to take everything from nameplate all the way to spawn count, and with this last bracket here, we want to copy that. And we basically want to replace anything up here till the last bracket. That's how we want that to look. If I read this correctly, this is only the name of the spawner, and this is the actual entity that you spawn. You can look at all the entities that are in the game in the entity dragging tool that is in creative mode, and you can just put them here, if I understand that correctly. You might need to play around with it a little bit if I got that wrong, but that's how I understood it. Anyways, we want to go down, and down here, under rotation, we want to add the model. I have no clue about down here. I just kept this the same in my testing and it worked, so I'm not even gonna play around with that. But what I want to do is I want to copy this model here. And basically what this does is it defines the entity spawner. So we want to go ahead and just mark this. All of it. And now we have the NPC spawner marker in here. Another thing that you definitely want to add is this right here. If you don't add this, that was basically in the components, if you don't copy this over, if you write this whole thing out after you understood the text, then you're probably gonna see the marker in adventure mode, which is something that you don't want. This is very important to keep the spawner hidden. Alright, we've copied everything over. This spawner should now spawn a skeleton scout. I'm gonna give him a respawn time of, I don't know, I'm gonna experiment a little bit, I don't know what, I guess like 1. When you put 0 here, the way that I understood it, it uses the base game respawn time of mobs, which you usually want to do whenever you create a prefab for the game world, because then it has the same respawn time as all the others, if I got that correctly. I think so. Anyways, we're just gonna put in 1 here. You can test around with any of these. All I really did was try to figure out how to make the spawner work. We're just gonna press file and save. And I'll be seeing you back in game. Alright, so we're back in the game now. I have not reloaded the world yet, Because if I place this down here, we're just gonna have the same prefab as before. What we're gonna need to do now is reopen the world. Alright, so I reloaded the world. Now, if I place this down here, it doesn't work because it has... The copy tool has wrong information. So what you want to do again is go into here, prefab list, server, choose your prefab. Now you get the new version, you place it down, and boom. You have the functioning spawner with the skeleton scout, and we're just gonna stand here and stare at this thing till the guy spawns. And there he goes, did you see that? He spawned in. Yo, editing me here. It seems that the spawn conditions of the mobs actually has to do something with the distance of the player and also the time that you give it. I think it's like some sort of a mixture that basically allows the developers to make it so that the mobs don't spawn while you're in the dungeon at that exact spot. So, yeah. I don't know, test around with the numbers and let me know down below if you found out more about the details of mob spawning. Anyways, back to past me. Anyways, you can tinker around with these numbers that I've shown you in the files all you want, and you can experiment a little bit on how to make it work, but you now get the overall feeling on how to make these spawners work. I'm gonna play around with it maybe a little bit more and figure out some more stuff and maybe some easier ways to use it. For now, I'm gonna leave you here. Maybe I'll make another video. Next time it's probably also gonna be a little bit more scripted, because this was literally just I came home and decided to do it, so it's probably a little bit jank. But sure, whatever. I hope you found this somewhat useful. I hope you can use it in your prefabs in your dungeons. I'm sure Big Dude is gonna enjoy it if he has some dungeons that he might even be able to just pop into his world. Anyways, I will be seeing you all in the next video or something like that. I don't know. Signing off.